the founder of Perfuming Intentions, and one of the things that I love doing is helping to create aroma anchors and focusing tools for so creating a vision board for your nose. And I always start with doing aroma readings as a baseline to figure out where you're at. So your body and your mind are saying the same thing. So first 5 minutes of this talk, I'm going to tell you a little bit about how I came up with this idea and why I even am doing this. And then I'll take you through the 3 big secrets of manifesting, and then just share with you some ideas on how I can help you do that. So I'm going to take you back to 2014, and I'm sitting in a dark, secondhand smoke-filled 400 square foot studio in a very dangerous part of St. Louis City. And I've been crying my eyes out from this betrayal and despair that I was feeling. I've been crying for days. My eyes were puffy. My breathing is shallow. And I just feel hopeless. I was still recovering from a wrist replacement surgery at that time. And my body is, at that moment, filled with inflammation from rheumatoid arthritis and fibromyalgia pain. And I was in so much my thoughts were all over the place. I was consumed with that sensation of fear and grief and loss. And I just felt like my hopes, my dreams, my bones were literally shattered. And the thing is that all my manifestation efforts had dried up, and my life felt like a big bad blue song. So I was grieving this failed marriage. I was grieving leaving a 20-year community that I had built in Phoenix, Arizona, and I had to leave because my health had hit this critical moment where I really needed better care. I needed and I had run out of money to do that. So I needed to move in with my family. But the tipping point, however, was shortly after the surgery, I needed to leave a toxic family situation. And I was in a very vulnerable condition. I had asked other family members for help, but they just did not want to deal with that family dynamic. And I had never in my life felt more alone and hopeless and victimized. And I fell really hard into this victim thinking, because I identified with being a victim of my life at that point. My thoughts were just so unrelenting that I called the suicide hotline. And they were like, you're needing to stop this spiraling thinking. Go to your bathroom, fill up the sink with cold water, and dunk your head in there. Like, hold your breath, and then come back up. I was like, this is crazy, but okay. Well, it worked. For just a few moments, the spiraling thoughts stopped. And after I called that suicide hotline, I made a promise to myself. I'm just going to give myself the best effort possible, use every healing modality possible, go to festivals like this, talk to everyone I know, and just give it my best to try to get myself out of this space. I was a life cycle officiant. I was a leader of a spiritual community. I help people transform their own lives and manifest. And yet here I am, like in this bottomless pit, and I couldn't do anything about it. Like, I just couldn't get out of it. And the worst part of it is, like, I knew this. I understood the technology. I had studied Wayne Dyer and Louise Hay, like, decades. Joe Dispenza, Bruce Lipton, Jennifer Grace, and Anita Morishani. And just, like, I really knew this. In fact, when I moved to St. Louis, once I got a little bit better, I started a business called Mindful Mandala Events. And what I did was I gave people, like, these wheels, these cycles, to help them focus. They're like focusing tools to focus on their future goal, and we paired it with something novel, and I'll talk about that in a minute. And we paired it with something automated. So like when you're working on these, you go into the automated part of the brain. So like I knew how to use this technology, yet that shame just kept me like, it was like suffering twice, because like I knew how to do it, I couldn't do it, and now I'm hard on myself because I couldn't do it. Can any of you relate to that? Like I knew enough that I could identify that when I got on autopilot, that's when the spiraling out goes. Like I had gone to all these different therapies and things like that, and they all were great, and I felt wonderful at the time. But then when I got home, I was like, now wait, what am I supposed to be thinking? Or like, so it just dissipated, and I just couldn't hold on to it. And I knew I needed something tangible. I needed something I could cart around. And I couldn't very well cart around a sink of cold water and plunge my head in every time I had a thought that sent me spiraling backwards. So I was like, I know what I need to do. I've got to create something tangible and small. Found this jasmine, and it reminded me of when I lived in Phoenix. There was jasmine growing outside my bedroom window, and it's so beautiful. And I was really doing well at this part of my life. It is when I was manifesting left and right, and my life was going wonderful and very low trauma, and and I felt empowered. So I was like, I need this. I need to remember that time. I need to remember I can get back there again. And then I smelled basil. And basil was like what I started using that in my salads and my meals when I was doing a good job with self-care. Although at that time, most of the self-care was very not good. So it kind of represented where I wanted to go with taking care of myself and using fresh herbs and fresh plants. So I took those two home, and I found a cotton ball, and I just put a drop of the jasmine and I put a drop of the basil. And I said an affirmation of what I wanted to create, because I knew about manifesting and affirmations and mantras. So I just said my mantra, and I had it with me, said it morning and night. And I knew that would help automate it. But the thing that I did that really was the precursor to this business that I have of Perfuming Intentions was by putting it in a Ziploc bag and taking it around with me everywhere. So every time I had that, like, what if I never, oh yes, I am able to heal, and I am powerful beyond measure. And I'm never alone, even if I feel that way, or whatever. I can't quite remember exactly what it was. I think it was just simple. I have the power to heal. And so those two things, I just like really started me down that path of, I didn't really pick it up or see how powerful it was until like 7 years later, when I actually believed I could manifest and shift. But what at that point is when I realized that scent is the key. And I believe that, oh, I wanted to tell you. Now, the preface of this whole story and everything, you might not be able to relate to falling hard and your life going to crap, but I bet you can relate to that moment where you feel so frustrated because this new idea, this new thought, this new habit, this new concept that you're trying to go for just keeps getting knocked down by something you very know well not to do. You can't stop it. And so that's the frustration I want to talk about today. Because the thing is, we're only essentially one thought away from being the victor or the victim in our life. And so let's harness that powerful thought and become the heroes of our own story. Because I believe that that thought that's going to get you to where you want to go needs an aroma. Because I believe scent is the doorway to intuition. And intuition is the key to your future. So I want to point out that one of the titles of the subsection is ancient practices paired with our ancient wisdom paired with modern science. So the ancient wisdom part, well, one is the chakras system, and two is actually scent and the olfactory system itself. So do you know that scent is the very first sense to be formed in utero before we're even born? And it's how babies find their mom, through scent, because their eyes aren't quite open yet. They're just, everything's just not online 100% yet. But scent is. It's very primal and it's very ancient. And so when we use scent as a focusing and anchoring tool, we become powerful manifestors. And you're all powerful manifestors. I'm sure you've seen a moment in your life where you manifested something. But you probably haven't sat and unpacked it. Like, now, what exactly were those conditions? How did exactly I do that? How can I repeat that? And so I'm going to help you unpack it a little bit today. And the first one is, okay, have any of you seen The Secret? Okay, I'm sure a lot of you have seen The Secret. And a lot of us leave that movie thinking, okay, I'm going to manifest something, I'm going to think it, say my mantra, and poof, it appears, right? There's just like these so many steps that are missing. And one of them is anchoring. The other is automating it. And the third is the pattern interrupt. So I'm going to talk about each of those three parts and give us some like practical applications with it. So the first one is anchoring. And if you've ever made a vision board, I'm sure you're familiar with like anchoring that, the power of intention. And now we're going to take it a few steps further. So anchoring is where we use an object or an aroma or something tangible to represent the entire sensory or emotional state of that intention. And here's the difference. So think of like intention setting as setting your GPS to where you want to go. I'm sure you've heard all these spiritual people talk about that. But here's the thing, anchoring is now sinking into the emotional state of it and the sensing part of it. And it's like casting the line, the fishing line, and feeling the tug. That's anchoring. And that's how much further you can take your intention work. So intention is like ordering a meal at the restaurant, and anchoring is, and waiting and waiting. But anchoring is going to the grocery store, getting the food, and making the meal yourself. It's so empowering. And intention is the icing, but anchoring is the cake. It is the whole thing. It's the part that we really want and need. It's the most empowering aspect of intention setting. So to manifest, we need to be super clear, super concise, and okay. So intention setting gone wrong would be I tell my boyfriend, go pick up some vegetables for dinner. And he comes home with a package of frozen cream spinach or a 10-pound bag of carrots. And I'm like, oh. So, so the thing is, you might not have had either in mind, but you want to do the same for your vision. So I'm going to give you some examples of clients that I've worked with and like how they started and then what we did to kind of get their vision on track. So I worked with Sheila, and she had a mantra that was her vision of when I asked her, like, so what do you want to create, Sheila? She said, I want a peaceful life. I was like, great. So what would it feel like? Nice. What would it smell like? Good. What would it sound like? Neutral. What would it, like if you touched it, like what would it look like color wise? I don't know. So the problem was that she couldn't get into that emotional state. She couldn't pinpoint a specific time, location, place. Like we want to get that specificity because we couldn't anchor it when it's too vague like that. So we got to the place where we could ask really specific questions to get her to really anchor and get clear on what that felt like, because it brought her to the core of what was keeping her from experiencing that and why. And I had another client. I'm going to talk about Mel, but there's someone else I want to tell you about first. And I can't turn the page. Okay. So Glenda wanted abundance. And I was like, great. What is abundance? It's having what I want. Okay. But and it just comes to me easily and effortlessly. But like, what exactly? A job, money, love, all the above. I'm like, okay, Glenda, we can't put it all like. She's like, but I did that on my vision board. I'm like, those are treasure maps. Like when you put everything under the sun on your treasure map. But it's too much. Like the universe can't really hear what we're thinking. We can't tap in. Again, we cannot anchor into that feeling and that sensation. So we're looking for the why. So Glenda, why do you want this abundance? What will you feel after it's happened? I'm gonna feel free. I'm gonna feel like I have I have the opportunity to go do stuff. So we just kept asking why and why and why until we got to that common denominator. So then we really could anchor in and get to that one thing. Another one, Mel, I worked with, and he was so specific, and it took a lot to pry him out of that specificity. And so he said, I want to land the role of the Oz in The Wizard of Oz in the community theater. I was like, wow, Mel, that is quite the order in the menu selection. But why do you want to feel like that? Why do you want to do that? What would it feel like? Like, let's get into the feeling of it, because here's the thing: when we focus on the outcome, we like, rather than the feeling sensations, again, the anchoring doesn't quite hold its place. We we also shut out the other flow of the universe or source, or just the vibe from co-creating with us. And the other thing is, sometimes something better could happen than what we had in mind. So it's being able to tap into that ability to see that we're looking for the gift and not oohing and awing over the wrappings. So that's why we don't want to get too specific, because we might be pleasantly surprised. So that with that, we want to feel into that state of mind. So the difference between desire and the actual flow state is feeling into that magic. And magic is when we can add in our mantra, our intention, and a very strong sensory experience. So I'm going to take you through that right now. So hold out your hand. The power is in your hand. We're just going to name all the different senses. And then we're going to kind of do a breathing mindfulness exercise and focus on those sensations. So before we begin, focus on something you want to manifest, like in your future, not too far, like be an astronaut, and you like are just working at Starbucks. So let's focus on something that is in the realm of reason that could happen, say, 6 months from now. So think, hold on to it. Now imagine it's a specific day, a specific time. What's the lighting like? Where are you? Does it have a season? Does it have a landscape? These are all going to kind of cue us in later on what aroma to choose. But for now, let's just talk about how it smells. What do you see? What do you hear? What do you feel? And what do you taste? Okay, so hold on to that. I'm going to say those again. I might say it in a different order, so please forgive me. But we're just going to like follow the in breath up and exhale out. So in, up the valley and down, up the mountain and down into the valley, the exhale. Okay, and we're just going to kind of do in, out, in, out, in, out. Okay, so see your idea, give it a title, which can be kind of like your mantra, and breathe in. What do you see? And breathe out. What do you smell in that moment? And breathe out. What do you hear? And breathe out. What do you feel? And breathe out. And what do you taste? And breathe out. Now, this is just a very abbreviated experience, but I wanted to share with you something I learned during COVID. So I had a client that she was very, very, very super clear on her vision. She had her mantra. She made a beautiful, powerful vision board, and we got the scent. But I did the aroma reading, and or I'm sorry, I sent her the scent. She hated it. She totally hated it. So what was happening was her body was not on the same page as her mind. Her body is the barometer, and it knows whether this vision, this mantra that you have is possible, is realistic. Um, so it gives us that baseline to know that we're on the same page. I just threw that in there because it is also part of that anchoring process. But essentially, to summarize, anchoring is embedding your intention and having someone else reflect back to you helps the image be more effective and brings more efficacy. So again, it's all too easy to be vague or too specific or to have too many ideas. But as with the GPS, we want to know ahead of time how we'll arrive, and to know also that you have the power in your hand to use your senses, your mindfulness, and your mantra to be able to create what you want. So the next part is automation. That's part 2 of manifesting. Now with automation, the brain does not like new situations at all. It loves the comfort zone. And so you want to do these 4 things to automate something. And one is scent memory. I don't know if you knew this, but scent memory and fear are in the same part of the brain, in the amygdala. So that means that, and also scent memory is like instantaneous. It's an instant, takes you back to a feeling. It's automated. It's primal. It's effortless. So essentially, automation is getting to that effortless space. There was research done, olfactory research done, that showed a soldier was exposed to diesel during like Desert Storm, and whenever he had that scent come into his olfactory system, he went into PTS mode, like totally triggered. And as I read about this research, I was thinking, what if we could do the opposite? If scent is that powerful, then it does have the power to do the opposite. How many of you like smelled something from a loved one's kitchen that just took you back to when you were a child? And that thing that's just so amazing is it's so visceral, like you're there. And and so if we anchor and then automate into that place of being automatic, what if we piggyback that with our new thought? And so the other thing that helps with manifestation is novelty. So novelty wakes up your brain. So that's why I don't know if you've ever heard, like if you want to start a new habit, start it when you're on vacation. Because the vacation is novel. Your brain is like paying attention to things. So just like that, you can get things automated better when you introduce something novel along with something that's new to the brain. So sort of that bypass. Then also something like that you do automatically, like say you're studying for a test, you're listening to a lecture, by taking notes, which is kind of like an automatic um, job for the brain, it helps you retain what you're learning really well. And there's so many examples like that. But then the last one is repetition. So saying it over and over and over and over again, like, kids do with their multiplication facts, doing it over and over again, that makes it automatic and being able to recall it at whim. So the thing is, those four things are all represented when we do the focusing tool. We use scent memory um, to kind of piggyback into the brain, because anything new, we know saboteur is coming. So we want to protect it. We want to get it automatic. And then it's there. Then it's solid. So you want to use scent memory. You want to use novelty, and this, no one has ever done anything like this, so I'm pretty sure it's novel. And then automated and repetition. So I want to give you an example. I worked with Sharon. She was living in Phoenix, and she was wanting to lose some weight. And so we did the whole thing. What would it smell like, feel like, taste like, blah, blah, blah. And, so we got this really nice green, like fresh salads and hiking and chaparral in the desert and scent. But then I asked her about her scent memory. And I said, I want to find out, like, tell me a time where you, like, so we really wanted to get into why the weight loss. Why is this important? Oh, good. This. But I think the thing is, she'd always been a chubby kid, and she came from a large family. She was like the biggest kid in the family, and so she felt like she was always known as the fat girl, and so this kind of became her identity. And she said, but there was this third grade teacher that I had, and whenever I would walk into the room, she's like, there's the author, there's the writer. And she's like, this third grade teacher saw me as someone besides the fat girl. And this third grade teacher wore this rose perfume. And she's like, so I think what I need to do to lose this weight is not be the fat girl. And so if we had not done the automation, if we had not gone into that scent memory work, we wouldn't have discovered the real thing that was keeping her from the weight loss, which was, it's been her identity. And so what we had to do was shift her whole identity, and so that she could see herself as someone new, and bring forth her strengths. So the concrete steps, let's go back now. Now I want you to think that vision that you had about what you want to create. What scent memory, what's the earliest scent memory you've ever had that can match that? If there was music to your vision, like it had a soundtrack, what's the earliest memory you have that feels the same, that matches the same vibe as your future? So, like, is there a sensation? Was there a feeling behind it? Is there a word that, now, maybe you didn't experience it before. Maybe you saw it. Maybe you knew it was possible somehow. So maybe think, what's that earliest memory? Is there any scent attached to it? So that's how I would kind of work with people to get that matched. So if you have one, great. If you don't, that's great too. So let's take our hand again, and we're going to do those 5 parts. This time we're going to add scent memory. So we're going to go to, what does it smell like, your vision. This time use your scent memory. So smell it, breathe in, and breathe out. What does it feel like? If you can do both, the future, I mean, this is a little tricky to do without actual scent, but what does it feel like? Go to the top of the mountain, breathing in, and exhale into the valley. What does it look like? What do you see around you? Colors, temperature, time, season. and breathe out. I know there's a lot to kind of pack into like a minute. And then what does it sound like? What's the music? What's the noise you hear around you? Do they correlate those two? And then breathe out. And then the last one, what does it what did I miss? Taste like. What does it taste like? Breathe in, breathe out. So that's just kind of looking at that. If we had stopped at the future, you know, we would that doesn't get us to we've got get that anchor, but now we really need to get it automated. And so that memory can also get into the why we want it. And the last one is a pattern interrupt. And so, you know, back in my story, one of the things that I kept thinking was I couldn't get it automated. I couldn't get the thought out in time before I felt like I I started spiraling out of control. So what I needed to do was just pattern interrupt it. So now, one of the things that I love doing is helping to distill for people those your memory and your smell of your future, and distill it down with a beautiful harmonizing scent. And now we'll take that and put it on our aroma piece diffuser that you can carry around that's portable, and attach your mantra to it. So my mantra today is I'm a clear speaker. so so every time that thought comes in, like, oh my God, oh wait, what did you know, oh, I'm a clear speaker. And so I hold on to that, and it's going to put me right back into the path I want to go. So what we want to do is have that quick snap back and get off that merry-go-round. But first we have to figure out the what. What is it what is our saboteur du jour? What is it that, you know, trips us up? What is it that is our special brand? For some people, it's just shutting down and like kind of numbing out, going offline. For some people, it's avoidance. For some people, it's binging. I'm a Netflix binger. I don't know if any of you are. For some people, it's overwhelm. Like, I'm so overwhelmed. I don't know what to do. I don't know. I just stay in the state because this is where my comfort zone is. Sometimes people are just like go too fast and not really slow down to be intentional about things, or some people are just too slow to ever take action. So what we want to do is kind of identify your special brand of roadblocks for this particular vision, and then put a scent with it. And so we want to kind of figure out what now. Also, all the things that I'm saying that are about scent, you can replace it with something else. But but what you want to figure out for your pattern interrupt is when does this happen, or when are you most at risk for those sabotaging things to happen? Is it like right after you visit your family? You kind of go into like a state of automated, I'm going to now do my sabotage stuff because I can't deal with being intentional. Or is it 4 o'clock when your energy starts to wane and the sugar looks really good? Or is it being online, getting in real stuckness, REEL, you know? Like, nothing good happens after 9 p.m. for me. So that's like where I need to have my aroma anchor nearby at that time of day, so I can smell it and be like, oh yes, time for bed. I do good self-care. Time for bed. So I get that ready for me. Then just knowing yourself. And then with this pattern interrupt, and what I do when I work with you is we get the check-in. We figure out those 3 baby steps. So your plan is more proactive than just whatever it is I usually do when I go offline, when I go on automatic. which is our comfort zone. So this is really the key to building self-trust. And that self-trust is really what makes you a powerful manifester. So I don't know if you got a chance to see these handouts at your chair, but I wanted to tell you that while we're here at the festival, um, when I do the Perfuming Intentions package, I have all we have all these tangible gifts, and they're kind of like when you add together those, and then the immediate momentum coaching, and the long-term coaching, which is like you get action parties, you get accountability twice a week to kind of stay on track. I follow you. I'm your cheerleader. I believe in you. I know that you can. There's a 3-month follow-up, a 6-month follow-up, and I'm not going to let you fall. I really want to see that you can manifest what it is you want to create. So the value is $14.35. My going rate for that package is $650, but I'm offering $200 off if you attend the festival. And so it would be $450, and I also have a monthly payment plan. But I just want to get back to telling you that if you wanted to do the QR code, you can learn more about it. You know how to get a hold of me. But I just want to welcome you into remembering that manifesting is not wishful thinking. It is taking the rein by its horns and being the driver of your own destiny. And so bespoke, I don't know if you're familiar with that word, but essentially what it means is a high quality, one of a kind, artisanal product that's tailor made for you. And so by creating a bespoke scent, um, you can create a clear intention of what you want to manifest. It is by making a bespoke scent that you can get super clear on and anchored into that vision. It is with your bespoke scent that you can override and rewire the thoughts that hold you back. And it is with your bespoke scent that you can manifest the greatest version of yourself. Scent anchors intention, scent automates intention, and scent can pattern interrupt and manifest your intention. So upgrade your intention and let me help you lead you to success.